So he kept quiet. Crying over helplessness, Draupadi returned to her room. That very night she went to the royal kitchen and woke up Bhima and told him about Kichaka. Either you kill Kichaka or I will kill myself, threatened Draupadi in desperation. The enraged Bhima assured Draupadi that he would kill Kichaka, but not wanting to act in his and reveal his true identity. Bhima advised Draupadi to entice Ichika to the dancing hall the next night and that he would take care of the rest. Draupadi visited Kichika in the next morning and pretending to yield to his desires invited him to come alone to the dancing hall that night. The excited Kichika waited for the nightfall and that night Kichika drank plenty of wine and dressed himself well and went to the dancing hall. In the dim light he saw someone lying on a cot with a sari covered with the face. Thinking that this was Sairendri, he gently laid his hands on that form. Bhima, who was on the cot, draped in a sari, leaped upon Kichika like a thunder and thrashed him into a lump and killed him. He then quietly slipped out of the hall and went to sleep on the kitchen floor. In the morning, the news about Kichika's death spread like fire all over the city. Sudeshna was filled with grief about her brother's death. She suspected Sairendri about this but had no proof. The people of Virata were stunned that the valiant Kichika met with such a terrible death. They felt that the person who killed Kichika ought to be much more powerful than Kichika himself, but none had the tinless inkling that it was Bhima who killed Kichika. To the defense of Virata, when Duryodhan heard about the mysterious way in which Kichaka was killed, he guessed that the Bhima could have killed Kichaka because it was a well-known fact that the only Bhima was as strong as Kichaka. So Duryodhan surmised that the Pandavas were living under a different identity in the kingdom of Matsya. Moreover, word had reached Duryodhan that Sudeshna had a maid, Sairendri, who claimed that she had 5 Gandharvas as her husband. There was no further doubt about the Pandavas being in the kingdom of Matsya. Kichika's death will have weakened the Virata king. If we were to attack him now, and if the Pandavas are really hiding there, they will definitely come out to fight to repay for his hospitality. We will thus have tracked them down and can banish them to the forest again. Thus thought Duryodhana. When he put forward this idea to Karna and others, they too agreed. Shushama, king of Trigarth, was Duryodhan's friend, and hence he agreed to invade Matsya by seizing the cattle and by destroying the gardens and fields on the way. Duryodhan was to launch his attack from the northern side. Virata was yet to get over the loss of Kichika, and hence he was in no condition to face a war with neighboring kingdom. When he discussed his plight with Kanka, that is Yudhishthira, the latter said, "O king, there is no time to waste. You summon the army and I will help you out." Similarly, Valala, the cook, the Dharmi in the stable, and Tantripula were early employed in the army of the Pandavas. So, given him the opportunity, they will prove their skill in warfare. Virata was too glad to have help. Bhima and Nakul Sahadev were happy to prove their worth and in no time at all defeated Shuhasa's army. Virata was delighted with the victory. Meanwhile, the Kauravas had rounded up the cows in the north, and the cowards ran to the place to seek help. In the absence of Virata, they met Uttara Kumar, his son, and Uttara boasted to them about his valor and also that he could defeat the Kauravas and recover the cows single-handed if only he could have get a charioteer to take him to the battlefield. Sairendri, who overheard this conversation, suggested to him, "O prince, take Brinala with you. She will be a good character." Uttar Kumar doubted whether a female could be a charioteer, but since he did not have the courage to go alone, he agreed to the suggestion and took Brinala, Arjun in disguise, in the war front. But there, the sight of a big army, the sight of the wounded soldiers, and the sounding of clashing weapons unnerved the prince. Trembling with fear, he wanted to go back to the safety of his place, but Arjun, in the disguise of Brinala, encouraged Uttar Kumar to fight like a brave person. "You have to fight to protect your land," he told the prince. "Otherwise, the enemy will destroy all of us. Do not fear, I am with you." Arjuna took Uttar Kumar to the tree in the crematorium where the Pandavas had hid their weapons. He asked the prince to bring down the weapons from the tree, which he said belonged to a Pandava. The prince, who no longer felt any cowardice brought down the gleaming weapons from the tree. He felt that Brinala was no ordinary person. He wanted to know her true identity. When the Brinala told him that she was Arjun, Uttara folded his hands in reverence. Please forgive me for treating you a valiant hero as a charioteer. He said in a humble tone. Arjun advised him about behaving like a warrior, and together they hastened toward the battlefield. When Duryodhana saw Uttar Kumar approaching the battlefield with a female charioteer, he felt that victory was undoubtedly very easy. Arjun observed from a distance Bhishma, Drona, and Kripacharya standing along with Karna and Duryodhana in the battlefield. He stringed his bow and used these 3 arrows. One arrow fell at the feet of Bhishma, and the other at the Drona's, and the third at the Kripa's feet. This solution made all of them exclaim, Arjun is here. On hearing this, Duryodhana immediately cried aloud. Arjun has been identified before the exile period is over. The Pandavas should undergo 12 more years of exile, but Drona clarified and said, stipulated period ended just before we recognized Arjun as the charioteer. There was an argument over this between Drona and Duryodhana. Duryothana's son Ashwatthama finally Bhishma put an end to this war of words by reminding them that they had to urgently confront Arjuna. Arjuna and Uttar fought valiantly and defeated the Kaurava army. Duryodhana fled them from the battlefield, and leaving behind the stolen cattle, the entire army retreated to Hastinapur. Virata, who was overjoyed to hear about this victory against the Kauravas, arranged a grand welcome to his son Uttar. But he did not realize that the youngster like Uttar could not have defeated war veterans like Bhishma and Drona. He was so full of praise for his son. So when Yudhishthir revealed the truth that Brinala was the true reason for the winning war, Virata was annoyed that Kanka equated Uttar with a mere woman. In a fit of anger, Virata flung the dice he was playing on Kanka's face. Kanka was hurt and blood oozed on face. Immediately, Sairendri hastened to his side and wiped the blood with the cloth and squeezed it into the cup. Virata was further enraged. He shouted at Sairendri, "Why are you concerned about a total stranger?" He asked her. "Kanka is not his true name," replied Sairendri. "He is the king, and it does not augur well for your kingdom if his blood drops on the floor." He was very confused with this. Right at the moment, Uttar Kumar entered the place and revealed to his father the identity of Brinala, Kanka, Sairendri, and Bhima, Nakula, and Sahadev. Virata was aghast and at the thought that he had treated the mighty Pandavas as servants, and that Draupadi worked as a maid to the queen. The queen sought Draupadi's forgiveness. The Virata, in gratitude to the Pandavas for defending the kingdom, gave his daughter, the princess Uttara, in marriage to Arjuna's son Abhimanyu, in the presence of Krishna's Balram and Draupadi. The exile and economic life of the Pandavas came to an end. And what would be their next action was the thought. Foremost in everybody's mind, some suggested to the Pandavas to defeat the Kauravas through a war and win back their kingdom. But war meant bloodshed and loss of lives. And Krishna advised the Pandavas to avoid a war. But don't be cowards, he counseled. If a peaceful settlement between you and the Kauravas cannot be reached, let us wage a war. But before that, let us try to reach a compromise with them. Krishna wanted to avoid war, though he knew that Duryodhana would never listen to any reason. Krishna knew that a war was inevitable between the Pandavas and Kauravas. Krishna meditation. Okay. Krishna's meditation. Duryodhana was a dominant person. He could never concede anything at all. The messenger sent by the Pandavas through Draupadi read out before Duryodhana his various misdeeds against the Pandavas and called upon him to return their kingdom. The messenger also warned Duryodhana of the consequences of the war. He did not agree for a peaceful settlement. Duryodhana was enraged to receive such a message. The elderly Bhishma, who was present in the court, advised Duryodhana to honorably give back Pandava's share of the kingdom. Otherwise, the Kauravas would all destroy. He warned. Karna scorned Bhishma for deciding the Pandavas. They have foolishly lost their kingdom. Why should we return it? Was his argument. Dhritarashtra sent an appeal to the Pandavas through Sanjay that they should give up their claim over the kingdom and avert a war. Pandavas were temporarily staying near Virata city of Matsyaland when Sanjay tried to convince Yudhishthira to give up any claim over the kingdom. Yudhishthira politely refused. I have been made a king once, and here cannot live like a beggar. We Pandavas are not greedy. We are only asking for our share of the kingdom. If Duryodhana opposes this, at least give us 5 villages, one for each of us. We should be content with this offer and shall not wage of war, he said. When Sanjay conveyed this message to Dhritarashtra and his son, Duryodhana laughed. The mighty Pandavas, with all of their talk of dignity, asking for a mere of 5 villages, amused him. But his father found sense in this and told him, Son, I am sure you can give away the 5 villages. The rest of the empire will be yours. Duryodhana flatly refused by saying, Dear father, I shall not part with even a needle point of land, and walked out of the meeting. Duryodhana just did not want to listen to any good advice or to reason. He was obsessed with destroying the Pandavas totally. Karna, Shakuni, Dushasana, and others encouraged him in this. Elders like Bhishma, Drona, and Kripa were totally ignored. The blind Dhritarashtra was like a puppet in his son's hand. Duryodhana's proclamation that he would not give even a needle point of the land to the Pandavas dismissed Krishna. He felt that there was no more scope for peace talks, but as a final effort, decided to personally go to Hastinapur and negotiate with the Kauravas. Draupadi did not favor this. The wicked ones out to be punished was her attitude. She told her 5 husbands, If you do not want to wage a war, I will seek the help of my father, the king of Drupada, and Drishtadyumna, my brother. I have 5 sons to go to the battlefield. She could not forget the utter humiliation she faced at the hands of the Kauravas at a full gathering. Krishna consoled her by saying, Dear sister, Duryodhana will never agree to a peaceful settlement, and hence the final outcome will be war. But I will have to make a last attempt. So saying, he departed for Hastinapur. Duryodhana wanted to accord a grand welcome to the Krishna, but instead of going straight to the court of the Kauravas, Krishna spent some time at Viduru's house and then went to the court, where Bhishma, Drona, and Dhritarashtra and Vidura were present. Duryodhana warmly welcomed Krishna and offered him a jewel-studded throne. Krishna, it was below your dignity to stay with low-born Vidura. You should have accepted my hospitality, chided Duryodhana. Vidura, hurt by Duryodhana's cruel words, refused to cooperate with him any further. Duryodhana at that moment did not realize what a loss this would be. Krishna rose from his seat and facing the king and explained his intention to avert a war between the Kauravas and Pandavas. Dhritarashtra, please treat the Pandavas honorably and return their share of the kingdom. Do not cause destruction to the Kuru clan, Krishna said. Dhritarashtra pleaded his helplessness, and so Krishna turned his attention toward Duryodhana and said gently, Duryodhana, please be reasonable. If not half the kingdom, at least 5 villages will make Pandavas happy. The Duryodhana stuck to his word and said a firm no and walked out of the court. Krishna pleaded with the elders about the senseless attitude of Duryodhana. It is better to do away with one Duryodhana to save the other Kauravas. It is better to do away with one Duryodhana to save the other Kauravas, was Krishna's better advice to the other. Krishna, on the pretense of meditation, is plotting to kill me, accused Duryodhana. When he heard about this advice, he immediately ordered his brother Dushasana to seize Krishna with ropes. How is it possible to tout and the protector of the universe, the omnipotent Krishna? When Duryodhana and his brother rushed back to the palace and court to imprison Krishna, Krishna revealed his Vishwarupa. Wherever Duryodhana and Dushasana turned, they saw only Krishna. The courtiers looked like Krishna. There was Krishna on every seat, on every throne. Who was the real Krishna? Krishna's Vishwarupa was magnificent, revelation of the Supreme Being. Even the blind Dhritarashtra temporarily regained his eyesight and was able to see the Vishwarupa, while all the others were stupid by his revelation. The ignorant Duryodhana termed it as a magic trick of Krishna. When Duryodhana retreated his obsession, Krishna left the court after resuming his normal form. He went straight to Kunti and told her about the events of the day. She was extremely distressed to learn that her sons had to resort to war. When she thought of Karna, her heart felt heavy. She wanted to reveal the secret about Karna's birth, in the know that once he learned the truth, he would not fight against his own brothers. Krishna also agreed with her, but suggested that she should make Karna promise her that he would not use the same arrow twice in the war. Mother and son were to come face to face at last. Kunti knew that the Karna offered his prayers to the sun god and every morning by the side of the river. So she waited for him till his prayers were over. When she turned back, she saw Kunti. He touched her feet in reverence in a trembling voice, and Kunti addressed Karna as a son. Karna felt that she wanted to say something important to him. Son, you have always believed yourself to the Adhirata's son. That is not the truth. You were born a Kshatriya and you were born to me. So saying, she could no longer control her emotions and wept bitterly. She then told him that his birth about setting him afloat in the river. She wanted to be forgiven for action. On hearing the truth about his birth, Karna said sadly, Mother, you have got me into predicament by revealing the truth. I can only say that fate has been very cruel to me. Kunti touched him gently and continued to say, Child, you are my eldest born. The Pandavas are your younger brothers. Not knowing the truth, you have joined hands with Duryodhana, but it is never too late. Come back to us and be king. I assure you that you will have the abiding loyalty of your younger brothers. Karna was a true friend of Duryodhana. He was very grateful to his friend for his large-heartedness in crowning him as the king of Anga. So he told Kunti in a firm voice, Mother, I cannot give up my friendship for the sake of a throne. Duryodhana has total confidence in me. I cannot betray him at this moment. Son, you have no consideration for your poor mother, asked Kunti. Though Karna did not offer any reply, he could not forget the humiliation he had suffered in his entire life as being the son of a charioteer. Neither Kunti nor the Pandavas could wipe out his unpleasant memories. Please forgive me, said Karna to Kunti. I promise you that I shall not fight against Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula and Sahadev, but I shall not spare Arjuna. I will not hesitate even to kill him. If he were to die at my hands, you still have 5 sons. If I were to be killed by Arjun, you will still have 5 sons. Kunti then took courage and told Karna, Then son, you speak like a true Kshatriya, but promise me that you shall not use the same arrow twice on Arjun. The ever generous Karna agreed to this, and Kunti returned to home with a heavy heart. Karna walked towards the palace with mixed emotion, and such is the path of destiny. The Kurukshetra War. I think this is the last chapter. Right? I think so. Yeah. So, there was no doubt in everybody's mind that war was inevitable. Many people felt that cousins ought not resort to war. Fighting over land, others were of the opinion that Duryodhana ought not have been dominant. The fact that Lord Krishna had himself tried to mediate between the hostile cousins and had failed disillusioned many. When Krishna returned from Hastinapur and informed Yudhishthira about the outcome of his trip, he felt very sad. The peace-loving Yudhishthira lamented that bloodshed could not be stopped. Krishna returned to Dwarka. Drupada and Krishna were the only friends. Drupada and Krishna were the only friends the Pandavas had. Drupada was waiting for an opportunity to avenge his daughter's humiliation. He was ready to lend his army to Dharmraj. Krishna's army consisted of Yadavas. Duryodhana wanted to avail of this army service. Moreover, he knew that Krishna's support was at most important. So he went to Dwarka to meet Krishna. Meanwhile, Arjuna also reached Dwarka to seek Krishna's help for Yudhishthira. Krishna, who knew of these intentions, pretended to be fast asleep. As soon as Duryodhana and Arjun reached his doorstep, Duryodhana, befitting the status of a king, preferred to sit on the seat placed near Krishna's head. He waited for Krishna to wake up. Arjun sat on the stool near Krishna's feet. As soon as Krishna opened his eyes, he saw Arjun first. Naturally, he could not have noticed Duryodhana first, as he was sitting near the head. And naturally, Krishna talked to Arjun first. Duryodhana could not tolerate this, and so he imitated a sound to catch Krishna's eye. Immediately, Krishna turned towards him and exclaimed, "Oh, Duryodhana, you are also here. This is an honor for me. What can I do for you?" Duryodhana replied, Yashodhanandan, I have come to seek your help in the forthcoming war. Undoubtedly, victory will be mine. Hence, please be with us. Arjun also said, Krishna, I am also here to ask for your help. We will be honored to have you with us. Krishna was in dilemma. Both of them were his relatives, and hence he out to extend help to both of them. So he told them, "Dear Duryodhan and dear Arjun, both of you are my relatives. If I come to your help, my army will also assist you. But I will not personally take up arms, nor will I participate in the actual fighting. You have an option. One of you can take my entire army, and the other could have me. But since I spoke to Arjun first, he will have the first privilege." The Pandavas were aware of Krishna's divinity. So Arjun at once said, "Krishna, I do not want your army. We want only you with us." Duryodhana was relieved to hear this. After all, Krishna had already said that he himself would not fight. So what was the use of having him? He cried out in delight, and Krishna in that case give me your army. He cried in delight, and Krishna in that case give me your army. Krishna agreed to both the requests. The war fever gripped one and all. The Pandavas and the Kauravas reviewed their respective armies to assess their strength, and Duryodhana had a sister by name Dushyali. Her husband was Jayadatta and the Sandhya king. So Duryodhana had his backing. Shalya, the king of Madra, was also with Kauravas, and Shushmarma, the king of Trigarth, and his children had always extended their help to Duryodhana. The Yadava's army sent by Krishna also swelled Duryodhana's strength. Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, and Ashwathama were already with the Kauravas. Thus, the Kauravas' army numbered 11 Akshonis. The Pandavas. One Akshoni is. Okay. So, 11 Akshoni. The Pandavas had the support of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, Amba, who was born as Shikandi to Drupada, in order to settle scores with Bhishma, Virata, Satyaki, and others. Bhima and Arjun themselves were very valiant. Abhimanyu, the 14-year-old son of Arjun, and Subhadra also announced that he was taking part in the war. Bhishma's son Ghatotkacha was also there. The Pandavas in all had 7 Akshonis. Yudhishthira divided these into 7 divisions and appointed a commander-in-chief for each one of them. Bhima headed one such division. Since Krishna did not wish to wage the war, he told Arjuna that he would be his charioteer. Duryodhana also made hectic preparation to appoint commander-in-chief for his army. The elderly Bhishma, a great warrior, was appointed as the supreme general in charge of overall.